Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Rick Alberti. I'm the executive director of Chamber South, and we're here today to tape another segment of Chamber South Spotlight. Today, I have the pleasure and honor to speak with a dear friend of mine, Luigi Gonzalez from My XCELL Network. How are you, Luigi?
I'm blessed by the best, Rick. Thank you for having me.
No, it's great to have you, my friend. So tell me, who is Luigi Gonzalez?
Well, Luigi Gonzalez was born in Venezuela. I've been here for a little bit over 30 years in the South Florida area. And I've been helping in one way, shape, or form, serving the local community, business owners. I work with AT&T, Comcast, and then I started selling other services. And about almost a little bit over a decade ago, I started My XCELL Network.
So before you started My XCELL Network, you worked with other vendors like AT&T.
Yeah, I was actually an AT&T employee. I worked for one of their call centers, and then I became an installer through a subcontractor. So I learned, I was 20 years old. I had to choose between working for a big computer manufacturer that was bought out by Dell, or learning what the heck AT&T was, because this was the early 2000s when I made that decision, and I went the AT&T way.
Well, AT&T is a national brand, well known worldwide. Everyone knows who AT&T is. So I'm going to assume that while you were working with AT&T, you found something or saw something that said, you know what, maybe I can do something better.
It was a little later down in my career when I read a Harvard Business Review thing of what the VoIP industry was going to do. This was many years ago, and I decided to start learning about this world because obviously as the world then doesn't exist as it is today, right? Like technology is much faster, things are changing a lot, especially in the last couple of years. If you think about Instagram, is part of Meta. They're a $1 billion company, and they were born in 2010. So 15 years ago. So and all the technologies. I mean, TikTok, for God's sakes, it's only a couple years old as well.
So you said VoIP. I'm
Mhm.
going to assume that's voice over IP.
Yes,
And just exactly what is VoIP?
VoIP is basically a way that you can talk to anybody in the world using your internet access. Whereas before, when I worked with AT&T, you had the copper lines and everything that are being retired today, thanks to fiber optics.
So fiber optics is taking over, has been taking over for years now. Now, when you say copper wires, when anybody does any kind of phone system now, they still used to have landlines. Those landlines, do they still exist?
Well, right now, it's funny enough, they're trying to phase out the copper network little by little every year. They keep on pushing it back, and what they do is they raise their price, which is great for us because there's some people that save 80% when they switch from an analog system into a digital system. And now the world's changed. It's a global world, which is why we also expanded to remote employees because I saw an opportunity there when I would go into a business owner here in South Florida and they only had, 1,000 square feet with 4 or 5 employees. I found a way of actually selling more to the same client by helping them find highly talented, qualified bilingual virtual assistants down in Latin America.
So tell me about what is and what encompasses my Excel network.
Well, we're a service provider that helps business owners. Thankfully, right now we are in different states, like Texas. We have some people in California. We have some people in Atlanta, New York, Boston, all over South Florida, and we basically try to solve the most amount of problems that we can for a business owner, either through our products and services, or I've built a network around me of highly qualified, capable individuals. And basically, what I do is just like, hey, look, this person needs cybersecurity, or this person needs this, an attorney, whatever they may need. Basically, I have my Rolodex, and it's just like, hey, I need somebody. You see me work rooms, and very good, I think, at what I do as far as like, connecting with people, talking to them, making sure that they are actually active. Because sometimes when we go to events, you have your people that are just like zombies on their phone and everything, or they're like, okay, I don't know what to do, what to say. So I've been able to build a network of experts around me that I can connect people to.
What are your services and your products that you offer?
So we offer the phone system, which is our flagship product, but thanks to the pandemic, we expanded into remote assistance.
And what
So
is remote assistance?
so basically, what we do is I have my team down in Latin America, and we identify people that have experience, that speak good English, that have a good internet connection, that have a good computer equipment to work for US based companies. So we have a couple of attorneys, we have insurance agencies and companies, we have individuals, a few clinics that outsource their customer service, a lot of the car rental companies that they get hundreds of calls per day. Basically, they've been sending their customer services, which is what Fortune 500s have been doing for the last 20 years. But now the small business actually has the access, thanks to the technology, thanks to fiber optic. Now the talent pool is no longer local; it's more of a global world.
Well, that's extremely interesting because there's so many questions that arise when I hear that. Number one, how do you find those employees in those countries?
Well, basically, that's not my job.
Okay.
I have a great team of full-time psychologists, because down in the country that we work in, which is Colombia, right now, about 75 to 85% of the people that work in human resources, they don't go through the business path,
Okay.
they go through a psychology path. So basically, we use science to profile the people, and we also do psychometric testing, because we want to make sure that whoever we place with a business owner is going to be adaptable to the role. So nobody can score zero, nobody can score 100, and there's no way for anybody to hide from these tests.
Okay, so those people are held accountable just like if they were sitting right in front of you in your office and they're held accountable to do the job that they were hired to do. Am I
Oh,
correct in saying that?
absolutely. Now, we don't get into the way that every company does things, because everybody's differently. We have some clients that are like, hey, look, I want them on Zoom at all times while they're working. Other times,
What?
yeah, and they basically, the employees like it because since they work from home, they're alone most of the time, but they get to crack jokes, they get to work together, they see the finished results of some of the projects that they work in, and basically that gives them a way to create a culture outside of the office.
So,
And everybody does it differently, right? Some people, it's like, hey, look, I don't want to wait more than 5 minutes. If I call you, I expect you to pick up the phone during business hours. We have a full process that we go through, and sometimes people are
prior
like,
to hiring them,
well, again,
depends.
what's that's a brand of adult diapers, but what's chaos for the spider is just what's chaos for the fly is just the lunch of the spider. So the fly lands in the spider web and it's like, oh my god, I have to get out of here, right? And the spider is like, oh hey, wait a minute, lunch is served. So everybody does it a little differently. We don't get into the business part of each person. They will adapt to whatever technology you're using. I mean, we have people that use some of our competitors for their phone service, or they use different providers. We don't get involved in that. We give you the person, we the most adaptable person for the role. So going back to the test, anybody that will score 85 percentile or less for the specific role, we wouldn't suggest you hire them.
Okay.
So we normally, between 85 to 93, 94 percentile is what we usually get. And you'd be surprised. I had a client very recently that we were profiling for a sales assistant, right? Because that's one of the things that I emphasize on, especially to salespeople. Like, if you have a good salesperson, you need a scribe. So, for example, I think you've met and spoken to Paulo, if not
I
Daniel
sure have.
has. And basically, my job is to open up as many doors via new conversations as I can. Her job is to make sure that that occurs. So I don't want to I don't want to use this in the podcast, but basically I come in into a networking event and everything. I talk to people. I have a good memory as of right now, and basically after every event, I jump on a Zoom call with her. She's down in Colombia, and I send her cards like, "Hey, look, this is what I talked to this person. This is what I talked to this person. Ask him about this. Ask him about that," and that's how I keep my calendar full.
That's incredible. I think there's some proper terminology, either offshoring or nearshoring.
Yeah,
Could you explain that to me?
yeah. So basically, offshoring is when you have people outside of the U.S. That's mostly like when you have them in the Philippines, India, Pakistan, and all over the other continents. Near shore is when you have them near the U.S. shore, Latin America, Central America. Some people have call centers in Mexico as well. Um, and basically, that's the difference. Offshoring is when they're really far
Further
away.
away.
Now, that comes with its own challenges because, look, there is a 12-hour difference. So imagine, you have a family, you have kids, you have compromise, a wife, you gotta work all night, then you do your life, and then the next day you have to work again.
Exactly.
Whereas when you do nearshoring, and this is what I tell my clients, is look, they're going to be working the same hours. Yes, this can happen as well because if they have an
Of course.
emergency or they go worn out and stayed out till late, they're going to be tired the next day. However, it's less likely that this is going to be a common occurrence where it's an exception and not the rule.
How long has nearshoring and offshoring been around?
I would like to say between it's going to be almost 40 years old. Don't quote me in this. There's Google
All right,
Perplexity
let's
that
just say it's 20 years old.
it's probably a little older than that, but let's
Okay,
say
but
20.
let's say
Sure.
25. It is amazing, and I think you run into it as well, especially being part of your business. 25 years ago, minimum, this thing started utilizing people from another country to, I'm going to say, substitute for another individual that you couldn't find or you had to pay too much for. But people are still, I'm not going to say against it. Some people still question, will it work for me? And what is your comeback to that? Because I love the person to be in my office, or I want to see him or her every day. Or what is your comeback to those type of people to win them over?
As long as you believe that it's true, it will be. So if you don't think that it's going to work for you, don't do it. Keep on paying more for less. And again, everybody needs an opportunity, right? However, there are many tasks that a business owner, right, especially CEOs, attorneys, accountants, business owners, right, they shouldn't be doing jobs that you can outsource for, six, seven, eight, nine, $10 an hour. You're not gonna find anybody here in the United States willing to work for that little bit. However, due to the currency exchange, you can. And I had an engineer tell me this. He was like, "Man, you know what I feel like right now? I feel like when I go to the dealership and I tell the sales guy I want to buy a Hyundai, and the sales guy is showing me all the Mercedes Benz." And I was like, that is a great analogy because basically, for the price of a Hyundai, I can get you a Mercedes Benz down in Latin America.
That's a good way of putting it, because in reality there are a lot of jobs that can be done without and freeing up the business owner to go do what he really needs to get done
Right.
to build this business, to build the profit, to build the revenue, even though many business owners still think that they have to do it because nobody can do it as well. There's paperwork to do. There could be a personal assistant. There's so many things that could be transferred. Let's say that I want a personal assistant from Colombia, has good English skills, knows Spanish, everything else. I
I
get a call on my phone, my cell phone. Can they receive it?
Well, that's what I just did. We're gonna be here for a few minutes, so I just call my sales assistant and say, "Hey, I'm gonna forward all my calls. to your line because they have a US number. Thanks to our VoIP technology, they
Okay.
make and receive calls. They could send and receive text messages. It's a little bit more complex, and it
Okay.
requires, the FCC is involved, and we have to follow the rules and guidelines. There have to be certain things on your website. It's a little bit more complex than just activating a phone line. But basically, she's handling all my calls. So if anybody's calling me right now, they're going to be talking to her.
And she can be answering My XCELL Network. May I help you?
Absolutely.
They don't know where that person is.
And when you talk to somebody on the phone, do you really know where they are?
No.
Right. So it doesn't matter where they are as long as they get the things done. So what I
And
tell business owners is trust but verify. So if something takes you an hour, it might take them the first time 3 4 hours to get it done until they understand it. But that's why it's important to have SOPs. That's why it's important to have access and use of the technology. I mean, the world today is completely different to the world that I grew up in. And I don't even want to imagine the next decade what's going to happen with all these new advancements in technology, AI, automation. Think about the industrial revolution, right? Before you needed hundreds of people to work the fields, right? And then, you know, tractors came
they sure did.
in and you didn't need that many people,
Horses, and you didn't
you
need
know,
horses. You need
right?
people.
Think talking about horses, the horses, let's say, from the year 1000 to the 1800s. That's 800 years of history. Yes, I know that we had the train and everything, but let's just talk about horses, camels, donkeys, the buggies, right? And then Henry Ford invented the car, right? And made it affordable. Within 2 decades, I saw a picture on a podcast, early or late 1800s, 90% horses. 1913, 90% of
Same
cars.
cars. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's only gonna get faster, better. Think
Sure
about it,
is.
like when our grandparents were alive and they wanted to go to Europe, they had to go on a boat and wait days. Now all you need is a couple hours. You get on a plane, you're there tomorrow.
Yep. So technology continues to change, continues to develop. It is replacing part of the workforce, but if you keep up with technology, you will always be in the workforce. Now, my question to you is the folks that are abroad, okay, that you select
Mhm.
abroad, do the job here. They're held accountable. They're just like an employee. If they didn't work out for me, can I let them go? What's the process?
So basically, we have a 90-day exchange warranty. If anything happens during the first 90 days of you hiring and selecting the personnel, we'll replace them free of charge.
Okay.
So basically, what we do is we ask people for 2 hours of their time.
Okay.
How do we do this? We need 30 minutes to make sure that we have an understanding of the role because, like I said, what's chaos for the fly is just the lunch of the spider. So one company might use this technology or might have these processes, or it could be a brand new business owner that has no idea what a standard operating procedure is. And they're just tired of working 60, 70, 80 hours a week just to keep up. Whereas we help them get somebody because they might not be able to afford US personnel just yet. I mean, there are things that you need somebody here for. Like, for example, I had a client out of California that he wanted the person to be able to come. So one of the requirements we had for that job was like, hey, they need to have a US visa. If you don't have a visa, we can't present you to this client. So, well, with the visa, they can come in for up to 6 months and, get training, do courses, help out.
Oh wow. I
So
didn't know that.
yeah,
Okay.
it's all
And
legit,
the
all
employer
legal.
pays for the stay and while that person's here.
Absolutely, because
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the least you can do. I've
Of
had the
course.
pleasure of meeting some of my team in person. I brought them over and took care of all their expenses and everything. The next time she came over on vacation, so it was fun. She was like, "Hey, wait a minute, I'm here, so I'm working. You have
That's
to take
great.
this."
That's great. That really is
Yeah.
because you're giving people opportunity in places that never would have gotten that opportunity, and that's extremely important as
Basically,
well.
I think that we're creating a win-win scenario for people because we're helping the business owner that is trying to stay ahead of the competition that is trying to implement to get help, right? Because Peter Drucker once said, work is infinite, time is not. So what I tell business owners is, look, your main job as a CEO is to increase the revenue of your company. Anything that you do that doesn't produce more revenue basically is a waste of time. You should have somebody else be able to do that job for you. And you may
Very
have to
well
train
said.
them, you may have to teach them. But hey, one of the things that I seen, and this is what I tell people, is like, look, you were selected. The first thing I need you to do is whatever ABC owner has in their mind, I need it on paper, on a Google Doc, Microsoft Office, whatever. But everything he knows, you should know as well, because that's a transfer of knowledge. And most people think that they are selected, or their company is selected because of them. And in reality, people like to work with others that they like, no one trusts, but they like to work with their standards.
Exactly.
So there's standards that you set in your company. You can get people to do 100% of those standards. Now you need to be organized and have everything documented. That's a challenge for some.
That is a
And
challenge for some.
I'm raising my hand here,
Me too.
but there are ways. Like I'm not as organized as I should be, but my team is super sharp.
That's great.
So basically, what we do is we do a discovery call with each client, because we're not like a BPO. We're not like a big call center. We're like, hey, we have 20 people that need to come and pick up the phone. We're not that. We're basically, we solve one problem and then create another. Why? Because, for example, we had a person this past week that hired an operations assistant, and he's like, dude, this lady is amazing, university graduate with experience. And he calls me, hey, I need somebody else within 2 weeks. I'm like, what happened? So we met with them, and she was like, look, I'm at capacity, I cannot do anymore, we need some help because there's this mess here, this mess here, that mess
Oh,
here. And I knew that was going to happen,
happened.
because the guy would like, he was struggling, he was working a lot, he owns a moving company. Logistics are incredibly difficult, and
Very.
I'm sure technology is gonna hopefully fix
A lot of that.
some of that in the very near future. But for now, logistics is key. If you don't have the right logistics, imagine you're trying to build a building, and you have the materials there, but you don't have the people, or you have the people there and don't have the materials, right? So it can happen, and it does happen, because especially here in South Florida, we have our famous hurricanes. And I'm not talking about the U. I'm talking about the weather kind of hurricanes. And sometimes things get delayed and have to be postponed. But I'm saying all this to say that if you're in a position where you have more work than time, which should be everybody, why don't you take a look as to what nearshoring can do for you? I can tell you that it changed my life. We connect people that need the help with people that want to work. Because one of the biggest complaints that I've heard from people is like, man, I hire somebody, and a lot of the young kids now, they want to be YouTubers, TikTokers, influencers, right? Like, I don't know what's going to happen with all that, but that's above my pay grade. And basically, we connect people with an opportunity with people that want to work. I have people that I met in person. I have people that started as sales assistants, and today they're you know sales directors for countries. So it's
That's
interesting.
incredible, Luigi. So, I guess to get the final message out to the folks here that are looking at us today, I guess the message would be if you don't have the time, let someone else take care of that so you can get the time. Because, like you say, time you can't make up. That's for sure. Also, you can save a lot of money by utilizing someone offshore, getting the same kind of results as someone right there next to you in your office. I think that the key is to make sure that you're organized, make sure you have a standard operating procedure, make sure you have every detail of what the job duties are written down to make that job even easier for that person abroad. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, another way to put it is buy back your time. You
Great.
know, as people start growing their business, they're always going to have more things to do. And even if you don't have standard operating procedures or everything written down already, start getting somebody to help you get those things written down. Like, most people don't have an emergency plan. What happens is something happens to the
To
business
the
owner.
person, to the
You know,
business
how many
owner, or
people?
the assistant, or the operations manager,
Yeah,
or the
or
customer
key
service rep.
personnel.
Yeah,
You know, like what happens? Like
exactly.
I've had people. I met people. You actually introduced me to one. He was like, "Look, if I sell my company, I'm keeping my assistant. You'll have to kill me to get rid of her."
You see, so that's the message that we want to get out to everyone. We want to thank you. I thank you for being here today, Luigi. Thank you so much. I wish you the best of success in your business. On three, let's say goodbye to this camera right there. One, two, three. Goodbye.
Goodbye.